Okay, so this is the tutorial for the F-14, and you can make it with the wings forward, or if you'd prefer, you can make it with the wings swept back. And I'd say this plane is a little harder to make than the F-18, and you can make it with glue or tape. I'm going to use tape just to kind of speed up the process a little bit. So first, you just fold it in half. Now we measure 3 1/8 of an inch. So at this line right here. Just making sure it's good because it's a little harder to make when you're recording it. Okay, that's good. Okay, now 4.75 inches, which is 3/4. So right there at this line. Okay, now fold this in half. Now measure 12 millimeters right here, I think, along this edge, the one with the last fold. So that's, yep. Then measure 18 millimeters in this direction, where you put that marking. Just measure 18 millimeters this time. That's going to be the cut for the back. Okay, so just take it and cut it. Like up to that point. Okay. Now we cut these two creases here. And now we're gonna have to measure 8 millimeters along this edge. Okay. Now open this up, and this tab, we just fold that down all the way. And the reason we didn't do that before taking the measurement is because when you fold this, it kind of shifts that part forward a little bit, so it's good to have the marking. Now use it and fold that down. Oh, let me just angle. And then match this edge with that corner, so right about there, and make the crease. So like that. You can check, make sure everything's nice and lined up. Okay, now we unfold these and fold these parts using those 2 points as references. And this, fold this up, and you leave a tiny amount of space back in the back there. Now measure 3 inches along this edge. Okay. Then we just fold up to that point. Okay. Now measure 7/8 of an inch from the tip of the nose up this edge. So right around there. This plane has a few measurements that are pretty important, so I definitely recommend using a ruler for this. And then, well, here's one of them that aren't very important. You just have to leave a tiny amount of space back there. See that? Okay. And you can use your scissor to flatten it out if you need to. Okay. Now there should be that little point where they meet right there, that little intersection. So just use that to fold up the wing. And then use that corner back there to guide your fold. Accidentally pushed it a little too far. Okay. Okay. Now we unfold these wings and we measure 7/16 of an inch, which is that little line right there. So we just measure that line up to that line and use this crease to start. Make the marking, and now make a cut that is perpendicular to that crease. Then just fold these little tabs down. Now we measure 15/16 of an inch, which is the one line before the 1 inch mark. So right there. And now we line up the ruler and we measure 3/8 of an inch. Now, we use these two markings to make the cut, like in the earlier step. We just make our cut there. Okay. Then we can just remake these folds. Now these you can just bring those down, crease them lightly. You don't have to crease these sharply because this will not be the final fold. Okay. Now measure, I believe 13 16ths of an inch. I think that's what it is. So just measure up to what's this marking right here, and you just make that fold. I'm out of frame. Okay. And now these excess tabs, we just fold them like this. Just make sure that there's like, I don't know, this isn't that important, but just leave about 1/4 of an inch space there, basically. Okay. Okay, now you measure 7/16 of an inch once again, like in the earlier step. Once again, it's this line right here, or the ones like right here, basically, that line. And now we just make a cut. So right here, this this should be visible. See how it's got like this little part popping out, and we just want to use these two lines right here to guide this cut, because we're going to make a cut that goes from that point, that marking, up to that intersection. I'll try to do this in frame. Okay. It's alright. Okay. So now, so here's where you can make your F-14 have the wings swept back if you like. But for the tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to do it like this, because there's a bit of an extra step when you do it that way. So just fold this down. You just use those 2 points as guides to fold it down. And the same here. Now line these up and you measure 5/16 of an inch. Yeah. Yep. So this marking, and you just make the cut up to that marking on both sides, so that you have your that will be your guide point for the next fold for the wings. Okay, hold on. Okay, so there was some background noise, so yeah. Okay, so now that you have these 2 parts cut, you you use this point and make a crease upwards, or not horizontally, you know, just fold the wing up basically. And this will angle the wing, and the reason we cut there is because that gives us enough leverage to still have this part underneath covering it up, so that there's no hole, you know, visible. And yeah, this decides the angle, so you can have yours like down here, you know, for all that matters. I always like to have mine fully extended. Now just I'm out of frame again. Hold on. Okay. Now I'm gonna use some tape here. I should have cut the video for that, but you just take some tape here, you place it on that point so that you tape this little triangle down, so right there. And yeah, just do that for the other side. Oh, I messed up the tape. Yeah, it's alright. It's whatever. Okay. So now that this is taped down, we can continue with this. And but yeah, you can already see that this is starting to take shape, so that's good. Now so this is why we didn't crease this down, because we're gonna have to find the point on this surface where it is 11 millimeters wide, which is like right here. So I'm just gonna show you guys up close. Right there is the 11 millimeter point. Focus. And that's where we're gonna make the fold. But here back here we find 13 millimeter point instead of the 11, because you're gonna need that extra space. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. Right around there. I feel this. Yeah. Okay. So now you just connect the two dots with the crease, and that's all good. Okay. Now right here we're gonna measure 5 millimeters along this edge right here, because we want to cut the stabilizers. Ignore that second marking. You just want the first one. Now we take this and we use that corner and cut it in that direction up to the point. Oops. Now we slide this in between there, and then just cut that off. Now measure 11 millimeters down here, and then we fold that like this. Mine aren't lined up, but just make sure yours are, you know. Okay. Now measure 1 millimeter along that edge. And we're just going to make a cut that goes from that marking to that corner, basically.